samasta sukino bhavantu loka samasta sukino bhavantu loka samasta sukino bhavantu.
My name is Bruce Berger, B-U-R-G-E-R, and today we're going to be focusing on somatic emotional clearing. And we begin with an invocation to higher intelligence by chanting the mystical syllable Om. We chanted Ah, O, that way we're invoking the full range of the holy word. Neutral, positive, and negative, Vishnu, Brahma, and Shiva. So 7 times into the heart. Last time. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. We dedicate our efforts to a vision of a springtime of humanity, where all humanity makes a leap in consciousness and realizes the unity and divinity of all life, where we cherish our Mother Earth as our own mother, where we share with each other as brothers and sisters for all our relations. Hariam Tat Sat. As always, we're focusing on the unity and divinity of all life. And this realization is at the foundation of our approach to healing. The ancient wisdom of Sankhya reveals that the cause of our suffering is alienation from our own divine nature. And the key to the final, the permanent, the complete annihilation of our suffering is self-realization, is yoga, is union with our own divinity, union with nature, union with life, union with our own self. Now, a couple of caveats before I go any further. First of all, we're remembering, as always, that nobody, neither scientist nor sage, really knows what anything is or what we are, where we've come from, what we're made of, or what we're doing here. It's a great and wondrous mystery that anything is or that we are. And so anything that we say, we offer as a hypothesis, as the fruit of a lifetime's contemplation, seeking to engage this great and wondrous mystery. Secondly, a lot of the wisdom that I draw from is from the ancient Sanatana Dharma, this timeless wisdom that's identified with Mother India. And it's important to understand that I did not grow up in the culture. I don't speak the languages. So anything I do point out or say or understand or realize is against the vast horizon of ignorance. So please, if you know these things differently, or if your realizations or your teacher's realizations have gone in a different direction, please understand, as in the fundamental philosophies, each is considered a darshan, a way of seeing, but also a way of not seeing, and each complements the other and points out something that we would gain or lose in the other perspective. So the Sanatana Dharma is, in essence, an honoring of these big questions in life, and support for each of our own unique and personal journey as we raise these questions, as we find significance and meaning, are seeking to find significance and meaning and direction in our life. The work we're doing here offers a unique synthesis of transpersonal and somatic psychology. Transpersonal is a psychology that is based on this understanding of the unity and divinity of all life. In the Sanatana Dharma, the wisdom of ancient India, the name for the creator, that quality of the great mystery, as we contemplate this dynamic of the great mystery, the quality that we call creation, and is ruled by a concept that we call Brahma. And Brahma points to an ever-expanding breadth of creativity. So our name for the creator are pointing to this aspect of the mystery of creation. Our way of personifying this aspect of the mystery of creation is through this androgynous being that we personify as Brahma, and this Brahma personifies the breath of life. Wherever you have life, you have breath. Breath and life are inexorably bound. To be alive is to breathe is to be alive. If you stop breathing for literally moments, this body begins to disintegrate. It's only the presence of this breath that vitiates and sustains the body. So we can take our breath as the root principle, inseparably associated with life. Now, the important thing to remember about this breath from the perspective of transpersonal psychology is there's only one breath. There's only one breath. Here's this universal ocean of breath, this infinite ocean of breath, this mysterious ocean of breath that surrounds us and infuses us. There's only one breath. We're all breathing this one breath. And in fact, this breath is breathing us. So Brahma means an ever-expanding breath of life. And in each moment, this breath of life is breathing life into each of us. This one breath is unfolding this universal creative potency through everyone and everything. Each of us is the face of Brahma. Each of us is the face of the Creator. Each of us is the cutting edge of the unfolding of the creative potency of this great mystery of life and consciousness. Your life is sacred. All life is sacred. So you have so each of us is the personification of one instant in the unfolding of this creative potency. And each of us has a unique place in creation and a unique dharma in this creation. And your dharma is to be you. And the work that we're doing here has to do with supporting you in your authenticity, supporting you in fulfilling your dharma. Here it's really important to really focus on what we mean when we say sentience, that each of us is a unique reflection of this universal life and a personification of one moment of the infinite creative potential of this mysterious life. And we are made, well, here as we contemplate this, the potential itself we could call God, the masculine. But the unfolding, the embodiment, the eminence of this potential is the self-sacrifice of the goddess. So there is a universal life, and the quality of life is a self-organizing intelligence. So in the heart of every atom and molecule and cell of creation, there is a self-organizing intelligence. Again, intelligence is the ability to take in our experience and integrate that, learn from that, and then self-correct it. Every atom, every molecule, every cell is made of intelligence, and that it's a field that outpictures a state, homeostasis, interacts with environment, learns from that environment, and self-corrects. So our definition of life, in fact, our definition of God, is this self-organizing intelligence. And we see Brahma as an all-pervasive self-organizing intelligence. Its unmanifest potential, absolute, without quality, unchanging, is Brahman. And the active unfolding of this, the self is the goddess, and this all is the self-sacrifice of the goddess. And in a sense, herself is yourself, and that her essence is intelligence, and your essence is this same organizing intelligence. So we are made of this universal divine intelligence, and our capacity to feel, our sentience, is divine. And each of us is a unique reflection of this divine sentience. So our capacity to feel is infinitely deep. We are profoundly alive. And in that aliveness, we are profoundly vulnerable beings. And it's important to understand that your vulnerability is sacred. Do you hear that? Your vulnerability is sacred. That you are a unique reflection of the sentience, the capacity to know, the capacity to feel, the capacity to be. You're made of the same stuff as rainbows and dewdrops and babies, and just the most tender, beautiful, exquisite of creative possibility, of human possibility, of the unfolding of this incredible gift of life, this mystery of life, that you are made of mystery, you are made of this self-sacrifice of the goddess. So your capacity to feel and your vulnerability are sacred. So each of us is challenged by our sentience. Each of us is challenged by our vulnerability. I believe that this great pain that we're in, the shadow of fear and insecurity, the shadow that sometimes is in self-hatred or self-loathing, is because of this vulnerability in the face of our ignorance of our divinity. And the healing of this self-loathing, the healing of this fear and insecurity, the feeling of this inadequacy, the feeling of this myriad, the healing of this myriad of judgments comes through an attunement to our divinity, an attunement to the divine, all-pervasive intelligence that's here with us in every breath, as every breath. This tuning into the feeling of being and cultivating a relationship to being. Because when we're not tuned into this well of being, which is potentially in every atom and every molecule and every cell of our body, when it's in a place of coherence and attunement with the finer forces of higher intelligence, again, every atom, every molecule, every cell of our body is a well to being when the fields come into coherence and harmony and alignment with the finer forces of higher intelligence. So a big part of healing, and a lot of what's offered to us through the wisdom of the Sanatana Dharma, this way of life, is a quality of coherence, which gives us yoga, union with ourself, and promises the total, the final, the complete annihilation of our suffering, of our alienation from ourself. So we take a holistic approach to addressing the suffering. We take a holistic approach to healing this suffering. And in our energy medicine transformational therapy program and in our somatic emotional clearing program, we have a number of levels that we work with in this holistic approach. First of all is this profound work of Dr. Randolph Stone, who's considered the father of energy medicine and who's the father of polarity therapy. In the 1950s in the United States, Dr. Stone published these 5 volumes on energy medicine, hands-on, practical, powerful tools for viewing the body as a field of energy and dramatically shifting this body into communion with a higher intelligence. Dr. Stone likened the soul to the nucleus of the energy fields of the body. And everything we do in polarity therapy is to line the physical with this higher potency of the nucleus. Now, polarity therapy is unique as a healing art for the intention to address the soul, the intention to address this organizing intelligence in every atom and molecule and cell. And we do this holistically through diet, through exercise, through consciousness, and through a profound and immediate and powerful system of energy balancing bodywork. Applying Dr. Stone's profound principles hands-on. One of the most important aspects of Dr. Stone's work was his understanding of the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system and his understanding of how to release trauma, shock, emotional armoring from the cellular memory of the sympathetic nervous system. Now, the sympathetic nervous system is the fight or flight mechanism in the body. And when we can release the holding on a cellular level of that nervous system, it transforms a person's life. It's a reset of our nervous system. It clears and releases the past in profound and immediate ways and allows us to come back to our natural state of parasympathetic attunement, of rest and relaxation and nurturance and presence. It allows us to leave behind a state of activation, fight or flight, hypervigilance, and come into truly a place of shanti, a place of communion with our own divine essence. So one of the things that we constantly focus on in our approach to polarity therapy is this sympathetic nervous system which is safe and easy and immediate and powerful. So that in our program, we teach 4 energy balancing sessions which lead up to this sympathetic nervous system release. So it's a real foundation of the somatic emotional clearing work that we do to clear shock and trauma, to clear emotional armoring, to clear anxiety from the cellular memory of the nervous system. The second aspect that we work with comes from the profound work of Dr. Eugene Gendlin. Dr. Eugene Gendlin has earned numerous awards from the American Humanistic Psychology Association, and many consider him to be the most important American philosopher of the 20th century. Because what Freud did for psychology by focusing on the subconscious and bringing the subconscious into our understanding of, and what Freud did with his understanding of pansexuality, Genlin has done with somatics. What Genlin came to understand was that trauma is not held in the mind or in the emotions. The trauma is held on a much more ancient, much more primordial, much more fundamental level of the nervous system. That we are mammals, and our mammalian nervous system is much more ancient than neocortex, the higher mind, much more ancient than the limbic system, the emotional level of our nervous system. That the trauma is held in this primordial level that's literally at the roots of the nervous system, that every mammal, that every life form has the ability under threat, that the sympathetic, the fight or flight is activated, and it shuts down every bodily process for survival. And that our nervous system is this ancient reptilian nervous system. And so what Dr. Genlin came to understand was that effective and lasting psychotherapy really couldn't be achieved by working with the mind or by working with the emotions. These levels were largely ineffectual or even re-traumatizing. That a profound and immediate and lasting level of psychological breakthrough came through working with the body, working on the level that we call somatic, working with the body as a screen for consciousness, and working with the body's reaction. And the beauty of working with a somatic level is trauma is a place where the body's reaction was overwhelmed by the experience, and the body shut down. And that to release trauma, we do not have to experience the past. We do not have to relive or experience the past mentally or emotionally. To clear and release trauma safely and powerfully and immediately, all we need to do is experience that it's safe to be present in our bodies again. Safe to breathe, safe to feel and experience, that it's safe to be present in our bodies. So the second part of the synthesis that we offer is sensation-based awareness, where we educate the client in somatic experiencing, in being fully and deeply present in their bodies. And this is a very safe and a very immediate and very powerful way to clear and release shock and trauma, and to continue to release emotional armoring and take a person from their being activated and possessed by the past into the gifts of this presence. It's important to understand our definition of healing. Again, healing is not necessarily about your vulnerability going away. Because again, your dharma is to be you. Your dharma is to be authentic. Your dharma is to be safe, to be vulnerable. So healing is not about your vulnerability going away, but as we mature, we build resources and we evolve resources for caring for this gift of life and caring for our vulnerability and caring for our sentience. So the work we do is giving you resources that facilitate your being safe to be fully alive, safe to be feeling, safe to be vulnerable, and having a conscious and nourishing relationship with your vulnerable parts of your being. Most of us are totally identified with our vulnerability. We collapse into that vulnerability and fall apart into that vulnerability when it's activated. And in our work, we work so that your ego is still in charge, that you have a conscious and nourishing relationship with a vulnerable part of your being, so you can be safe to be vulnerable, safe to be authentic, safe to be fully alive. The third part of the synthesis comes from the amazing work of Ericksonian hypnotherapy, which is non-trance hypnotherapy. And simply through intention and knowledge, we can negotiate and reframe the client's subconscious. This work comes from the brilliant work of David Quigley and his Alchemical Hypnotherapy. And again, all our work is hands-on. We're holding what we call a Sattvic energy balancing contact, which brings the client into a place of communion with being, communion with the mystery. And in the deep nurturing space, in the deep relaxing space of that communion, and through the trust as we cradle and hold the client in our love and wisdom and experience, we can focus our intention on reframing and renegotiating with the client's subconscious. And this work we call rescuing the inner child. And in a sense, it's a form of soul retrieval. If we realize the soul is our presence, that when we're stuck in the past, a great part of our presence is invested in the past. This process, we're able to take a part of us that is stuck in the trauma of the past and bring that part of us in the reality of our personal power as an adult to care for a vulnerable part of our being. So we create a conscious and nourishing relationship with a vulnerable part of our being. Another aspect of this work is that we're guided by higher intelligence to a critical time in the client's life. Often it's a resource, a way of feeling in the body, of wholeness and well-being before the trauma happened, or sometimes we're guided right into the trauma, and then we immediately, our work is not to focus on the trauma, we immediately negotiate with the subconscious and reframe the subconscious to rescue that persona, to rescue that aspect of their inner life and bring them into the reality of the adult's power to care for and nurture a vulnerable part of their being. We call this rescuing the inner child, an opportunity to reframe and renegotiate with the client's subconscious. Powerful, safe, effective, immediate tool for really doing transformational therapy. Just an amazing vehicle for self-knowledge. Now, as I believe that liberation is holistic, that if you're really seeking liberation, it's not just a mental exercise. It can't just be done with meditation. It can't just be done with hatha yoga. That it involves a whole lifestyle, and it involves with working with a spectrum of resources. And that's what we have in our transformational therapy program, spectrum of resources to really transform your client's life and transform your own life just immediately and safely and profoundly as we work with this work. Another aspect of Dr. Stone's work is the purpose of polarity therapy is to allow the client to experience this well of being that comes from balanced energy, that every atom is potentially a well to being, that when we bring the energy fields of the body into congruence and into harmony, they're able to receive the inner potency of the soul, the inner potency of this life field, this ocean of life that surrounds us. And so in our energy balancing, the goal of the energy balancing is to facilitate an experience of well-being. Do you hear that word, well-being? Where every atom of the body as a field of energy becomes a well to being. And the thing is about well-being, it is our natural state. Our natural state, our state of liberation that we're talking about, is a state that we all experience. The state of consciousness that I'm promulgating is called great fullness. Because when you're tuned into the soul, when you're tuned into your divinity, when you're tuned into life, there is an experience of great fullness, that you're filled with the fullness, the greatness of life. And this is our natural state. And so the goal of this work is something you already experience, something you're already familiar with. And so we're constantly focusing through our energy balancing, through our energy exercises, through our dietary regimes, through our devotion and knowledge on your natural state of feeling grateful, your natural state of well-being. So I hope that you'll be able to join us in India this January 8th to 25th in Tiruvannamalai in South India. We have an amazing retreat center in Tiruvannamalai, India. All of the rooms are built of rammed earth. Many of them have lemongrass roofs, and they're cool and comfortable with modern conveniences, really comfy beds and modern toilets, and very sophisticated water purification system. And as you can see in this we're about 12 kilometers outside of Tiruvannamalai. And Tiruvannamalai is a sacred place in Mother India, a place of pilgrimage. And every full moon, millions, literally millions of people come to circumambulate the holy hill of Arunachala, which is the embodiment of the sacredness of the earth. And we call this sacred earth Shiva. And Shiva means auspicious. The incredible experience of being part of this life, of being in a body, of seeing, touching, feeling, tasting, loving, creating. So we meet in Tiruvannamalai. For 18 days of this personal growth and career training in energy medicine. You're welcome to visit my website, www.weareone.us, if you'd like to learn more about this. And the airport you fly into is Madras, MAA, called Chennai. And we pick you up at the airport. And again, we have a beautiful retreat center outside of town, clean, quiet, with delicious food, in which we're able to do this amazing program. So I really want to thank you for joining us today for this webinar. And again, if you have questions you would like me to address, please email me at bruce@weareone.us, bruce@weareone.us. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us. Again, we dedicate our efforts to a vision of a springtime of humanity, where all humanity makes a leap in consciousness and realizes the unity and divinity of all life, where we cherish our Mother Earth as our own mother, where we share with each other as brothers and sisters. For all our relations, Hari Om Tat Sat.
Samasta Sukhino samasta sukhino bhavantu loka samasta sukhino